Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Peachy Comeback. My name's Abby Holden. I'm your host, and let me just tell you, today is a good day. I am one day away from my 4-year anniversary of being cancer-free. 4 years ago, tomorrow, we had all the cancer taken out. So it's a super exciting day. This is a channel where we talk about all things breast cancer. I have with me today Ashley Jones, who just so happens to be my sister. Ashley, say hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the show with me. You're actually here because we're throwing a baby shower for your son, also my nephew, tomorrow.
Yes.
Which means that you're going to be a grandma.
Right.
Are you so excited?
Yes.
I'm excited to be a great aunt.
Yes.
Okay. The goal of the show today, I wanted to talk about A, you, and then B, you played such a critical role in both Stacy and I's cancer journey and recovery. But before we get into all of that, I want to just talk through, sort of set the stage. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in October of 2020. Prior to that, we didn't have like a significant family history of breast cancer. Our grandmother did, but that was it.
Right.
Just a few short months after that, we found out that Stacy also had breast cancer. Mm-hmm. Like, at what point were you like, oh my God, when am I going to get hit? Did you have that? Like, it had to have been very surreal.
Yeah, for sure.
What was it like to watch your two younger sisters get diagnosed with breast cancer?
Well, it was shocking, and I don't even know if it was several months. It was probably closer to 6 weeks because it was January, I think, for Stacy. And so, I went to my doctor pretty quick with the, telling him.
As would anybody. I'd be like, hello, I need an emergency appointment.
Right. Yeah, so that's the first thing that I did was go and
to make myself an appointment.
Yeah, after the shock. But it was shocking, when you're not.
And so we don't have the BRCA gene, which is really common. Like right now that's out there. Like we have really good research on that gene, knowing that like, okay, if you have that gene, you need to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And we don't have that. We just sort of have this anomaly of both Stacy and I getting diagnosed. So there wasn't necessarily a set standard of Ashley, you need to do X, Y, and Z of preventative care. But how did you kind of think about your health going forward from there, and what does your care look like now?
Well, I went to my doctor, and he's like, and I had started early mammograms because of mom's mother's history. And so I was having them annually. And he sent me to a breast care specialist in Birmingham, which is where we were at the time.
Okay.
And so he referred me to her. He continued my regular care, but sent me to her for specialized, observation just to make sure everything was good. Went to see them. They did the genetic testing first thing, and then basically looked at my numbers. I didn't have the gene, like you said. And they kind of started me on a treatment plan of a mammogram, and then 6 months later MRI, 6 months later mammogram, 6 months MRI.
Oh gosh.
With an exam in between. So basically every year I'm having an MRI, and every year I'm having a mammogram spaced out.
Yeah. And
then 1 or 2 appointments with the doctor, at least one. Mm-hmm. And preferably not at the same time, that they did the testing.
Yeah.
So, and I was there. So that's kind of the plan that I've stayed on, for the most part. And, everything's been clear. Yeah. And that's, like you said, 4 years. So.
Well, and they talk about early detection and how important that is, right? So the earlier you detect it, the better. I mean, your survival rate is great with breast cancer. I was reading just recently, it's like 91% survival, 5-year survival rate with any breast cancer, which is amazing. But the earlier you can detect it, obviously, your journey looks different, and the better your odds are. Has it been like, I'm just curious, like, has it been a weighty feeling, or do you just kind of not let yourself go there?
Yeah, at first it was kind of like unnerving, because I'm like, every time I go in there, I'm like, they might call and say, bad result. But each time I felt like it's gotten less, and I wasn't really that nervous, because I knew that the Lord knew, what was going on, and that, we would do what we needed to do. But, so at first it was a little more nerve-wracking. Every year that went by, it was less.
It gets
I'm
better.
kind of like, I think I'm okay.
No, that makes sense. Time is really good for a lot of things. Well, cool. Well, thank you for kind of just like walking me through that. I know that we're not the only family that's going through this, right? Where two sisters or siblings or whomever is diagnosed. And so I think it's important to try to, like you said, get that out there for people to be thinking about how to be proactive, how to make sure you're taking care of yourself and doing all the right steps, because burying your head in the sand and just pretending it's not there does not help anyone. So we talked about caring for yourself, and I've titled this episode Caring for Yourself So You Can Care for Others. That takes me kind of back to what I was saying in the beginning, was how much of an integral part you were towards taking care of us, specifically around the time where we both, Stacey and I, had double mastectomies. And oddly enough, we ended up having them about a month apart, roughly, 4-ish years ago. And so you came over from Alabama, and you cared for us both separately, which was super sacrificial. Thank you very much for doing that. What was that like? Do you have like high and low moments of walking through that with us? Because you were there like whenever we got home from the hospital.
Yeah. I mean, not really low, I don't think. Just recognizing that it was, obviously a big surgery, and just wanting to help however I could, make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I think when Stacey had hers first, and so it was a little bit, you learn a lot as far as there's drainage tubes, and you have to have a pillow, and just all the things that you can't lay down flat. Those kind of things just to kind of think through, and but so.
One thing that I was thinking through, and Stacey had a recliner to recover in. I did not have a recliner. That was a mistake on my part, because I used a lot of pillows at night, which was in bed, which was fine. But I have a good friend who's just gone through the same thing, and she actually, she didn't have a recliner either, but she bought one just for such occasion, and she was so glad that she did.
Yeah,
it was really, really helpful for her just to get more comfortable. I struggled getting comfortable at night, and getting up and down out of bed. And that was one thing, if I could do it over again, I would certainly have a recliner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that seemed to be a place where you're more comfortable.
Yeah. So who was more fun to take care of, me or Stacey?
Y'all were both great.
No, we can't.
I do not have a favorite.
Who was more of a pain in the butt? Who was more needy?
Neither one of you. Y'all are like perfect patients. So, I don't know.
I didn't pay you to say that.
No. Stacey was a little bit more determined to go and do things. So about a week after hers, we are driving to Atlanta to take pictures for prom or homecoming.
A week after surgery?
Maybe pretty close to a week after. And I said, I don't think you're supposed to be doing this. She's like, I'm fine. So I'm in the passenger seat saying, please, God, don't let her hurt herself.
She's a warrior.
Yeah. So she was hard to keep down. But
did she take her drains with her at that point?
They were in her pockets, because we researched these little shirts that you could get with pockets in them.
Ooh, good tip.
Yeah. So I did do that. I started looking online and reading different blogs and things to find out what you might need.
Yeah.
When you were there, or to make things. And they talked about, something to put the drains in around the house, and and the pillows that were like the triangle kind of for propping up.
Two things we should link in the comments below if anybody's watching or listening and they want resources. We'll remember to link.
You don't want to wear them long, but the shirts, as long as you have your drains, you have to carry them.
Convenient. Check out my drains.
Right. So.
I love it. Well, from being so I remember this story. I was going to say that I was probably more Jaime between the two of us, but I don't know if you remember this, I have a very distinct memory. And to be clear, I came home same day of my surgery. I ran around the hospital telling everybody, I'm going home today. I'm going home today, because it was COVID and they were making us have surgery by ourselves, and it was barbaric. So I was determined to get home as quickly as possible. So I came home same day, and I thought I was lucid. I was not, because I have very, very few memories of that day in the following days. But I do remember that night getting ready to get dressed and go to bed. And for some reason, I was determined to have cute pajamas on. And I remember you, when I lived in a tiny house at the time, and you're like, all right, well, let's go get you in some pajamas. So I go back to my room. I'm looking in my closet, and I can't decide. And I remember having a pair of shorts and a tank top and being concerned if the colors matched and if you thought it looked good. And bless you. You were just really patient. I just remember you being like, well, I mean, whatever you want to wear. Thinking like, woman, you look like Frankenstein. You were black and blue, and you have all these strands coming out of you. I was determined to be cute, and you were super patient with me, which I appreciate.
And button up. You need button up things.
Button up things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things with pockets, a wedge pillow, and button up PJs.
Yes.
So I think as far as someone, I mean, you have a lot of experience, right, taking care of somebody. If you were to think of a dear friend or someone who's getting ready to have to go through this, to have to help their wife, their sister, their mom, somebody go through a single mastectomy, double mastectomy, a big surgery, what would be a word of advice and encouragement that you would give that person?
As someone helping?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Just, don't be stressed out, and just try to take care of the things that you can, and, just give it time. And,
And I think like controlling what you can control.
Right.
Like I feel like I really appreciated and enjoyed just little things like the laundry and the dishes and just getting you, an iced tea or whatever, because you're more limited and helpless than you realize.
Yeah.
That would be my advice to the patient is like, no matter what you think, you're going to feel more inhibited than you're probably anticipating because
Right.
you just cannot use.
You can't use your arms.
Upper body and your arms. And so being dependent, but having someone that's there just to make everything comfortable and okay, and knowing that things are getting taken care of. And my heart goes out to moms with young kids. I was fortunate to where I didn't have that situation, but a lot of women do, and so having someone that can take care of your kids, take them out, do things.
Right. Keep them busy for sure.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful.
Yeah. And just like you said, getting up out of the chair is, you can't use your arms, those kind of things, And I know when Stacy got home, trying to get her out of the car to get her in the house.
What was that
you
like?
Can't. Well, I mean, I think her husband, and he's a surgeon, so that helped me not be so nervous, because I think I would have been nervous, like I couldn't do drains and that kind of thing. Like he had to do that. But yeah, like supporting her like from her waist, because you can't hold their arm, you can't catch them by their shoulders, like.
No.
So you got to kind of be aware of that kind of thing. That's not something I would have thought about.
Yeah. Can't you get one of those? I need to research it, like a belt. Like I think in physical therapy, you can lasso somebody with a belt and kind of guide them around.
Well, to keep them from falling all the way down, like if you're standing behind them, for sure. Yeah.
That's a good idea. So my last question, I'll let you go. But I'm thinking through like caregiving, right? Because when I reflect back on everything that I went through, the person that's caring for someone is just so vitally important. And more than just, I'm talking about breast cancer, but anybody that's in a caregiver state, caring for elderly patients, caring for Alzheimer's, caring for being a caregiver, I think is really taxing. You ask Clark, my husband, he would have probably been like, it's super taxing. But I think it's taxing, and my heart goes out to all the people out there that are caring for all sorts of situations. I'm sure that you probably had like whatever low moments or moments where you feel like you're giving all this energy, but you have to find a way to reboot and kind of re-energize. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, honestly, for me, I never felt, it was very short-term care, but I never felt like I didn't have what I needed, and it was just completely a privilege to be able to be there. Like, and I never thought, oh, I'm so tired. Not once, and so, I mean, I can imagine with an extended care, it would be a little bit different, but with y'all, it was just a privilege for me to be able to be there. And it's like, there wouldn't be no place I'd rather be. And it wasn't about, I'm too drained or I'm too tired or, there was never a question for me and my personality. And like I said, being short term is a lot different than someone who's caring for.
There's an end in sight.
A long term, disability or, sickness. And so, I loved being, just being able to be there and the little things that I could do. So it gave me energy rather than taking energy.
Oh, wow. Okay. I hear you. Well, see, that's just a testament. You are truly one of the kindest, most selfless people I know. I'm serious. No, you really are. And that, like your story right there, like, oh no, it energizes me. Giving myself to other people, it's just what I like.
Right.
It's a good
for
thing.
sure. Yeah.
I love it.
So it's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I can't thank you enough for everything you meant to me in my life and on this journey. And we will link to the people listening. We'll link those. I think we came up with 3 things that we could link. Questions, comments, please leave us feedback. If you enjoyed watching this, I hope you did, listening to it. I hope it made your day better. Hope it encouraged somebody out there that I know is going through this. Happy Easter weekend. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Peachy Comeback.